The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor with stemCONNECT, and thank you for joining today's session on our Theme Months event for Hurricane Month. Today, we will be speaking with Angela and Yeti from the NOAA. Please feel free to submit questions and comments through the question box. To locate that, if you're on a computer, it will be on the side of your screen in the panel labeled questions. I will try to get all of your questions answered throughout the session. I will be in the background, so if you have any issues with audio or the video, please let me know in the question box and I'll be helping you to get reconnected. All right, so without further ado, I'll turn things over to Angela to introduce herself.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name's Angie and Yeti, and I am a meteorologist for the National Weather Service. And so what that means is I'm kind of one of the behind-the-scenes scientists that prepare forecasts and help deliver that forecast information to folks like TV meteorologists and emergency response people in your community, so they know what kind of weather to prepare for and help brief your families about so you guys can stay safe as possible. Now, today we're going to really focus on another behind the scenes team that works for the National Weather Service called the Hurricane Hunters. And the Hurricane Hunters, and actually the National Weather Service has a group of airplanes, not just the Hurricane Hunters, but a couple other planes that we're going to talk about and how they help us get weather information on tracking storms and getting this really important information on the storm itself, this meteorological data. And that information is sent to the National Hurricane Center and eventually to us at the local Weather Service office to help prepare forecasts, to help keep you and your families in the weather know and as safe as possible when one of these dangerous hurricanes threatens our area. So to start us off, I'm going to ask Ms. Taylor to show a video. Now, this video is going to focus on the military hurricane hunters, but it's a really good introduction to what we're going to talk about. Okay, so let's sit back and watch that video here for a sec.
Sorry about that, just a moment.
Taylor. All right, so now with that really great introduction video, we are going to talk a little bit more in detail about the NOAA hurricane hunters. In 1 second here, I'm going to switch my screen. All right. All right, so the video we just saw talked about the military unit for the hurricane hunters. Well, the National Weather Service also has a airplane unit to help interrogate these storms. And there are 2 airplanes called P3 Orions, and there's 2 pictures of them right there. And these airplanes are specially equipped with sensors and all kinds of data collection devices on the inside to help gather this really important meteorological information on a storm to send that back to the National Hurricane Center. Now you guys will think this is pretty cool. The 2 planes, one of them they call Kermit, and Kermit is the one in the upper right portion of your screen, and that's the little logo. It's actually painted on the airplane. And the other NOAA P3 is called Miss Piggy. And Miss Piggy's down in the bottom part of your screen. And so the folks that fly these airplanes, the meteorologists on board, as well as the technicians who help maintain them, are a really important part of helping keep families safe when one of these storms threatens our area, because they're the first line of going in and getting this really important meteorological information to help us start tracking these storms. All right. Now, there's another airplane that also flies around the environment of a hurricane. So the NOAA P3s, the ones that we just talked about, Kermit and Miss Piggy, actually fly into the storm. And there's another plane, it's called the Gulfstream. And this plane is smaller, and it flies around the environment around a hurricane to get an idea of, what are the winds looking like in this environment? What are the sea surface temperatures like? Because how all these other ingredients in the environment influence the hurricane can really help determine which direction the storm might be going, or if it might intensify. And so this plane's called the Gulfstream, and its nickname is Gonzo. That's also painted on the airplane there. And so Gonzo flies around the environment around a hurricane, whereas the P3s, Miss Piggy and Kermit, fly into the storm to get important information. So this is what it looks like inside of one of the P3s, either Kermit or Miss Piggy. You can see there's a team of folks. It's not just the pilot on board, but there's a bunch of technicians, meteorologists on board, safety crew who are flying into the storm together, and they're looking at all the instrumentation that's giving us meteorological information like temperature, pressure, wind information in the hurricane itself, as well as in the environment around the hurricane. And there's an example of one of the workstations there that you see the meteorologist on board working at on the right side of your screen. Now, one of the ways that they collect weather information when they fly into the storm, there's sensors on the plane itself, and there's a diagram there on the right side of your screen kind of showing you some of the unique instruments there. But one of the things that they use is something called a dropsonde, and that's the picture that you see on the left side of your screen. And what they do is they actually deploy or send out these dropsondes from a little chute that's on the airplane. You guys may have seen it in the video. And these dropsondes travel down through the storm, collecting temperature, wind, pressure information. And that really helps us get a feel for, where the storm center is, how strong is it, and gives us an idea of, the direction that storm is going as well. So here's an image here of the meteorologist on board, and they're getting this little instrument called the dropsonde together. And eventually, on the right side of your screen, the dropsonde will actually be sent down through the hurricane. And it's trying to show you there that the plane, the NOAA P3, Kermit or Miss Piggy, flying across the storm. It's actually into the storm where they drop these. And they fly kind of a crazy flight pattern through the storm. Can you guys see that red arrow down there kind of going into the middle of the hurricane? So that's the path that the NOAA hurricane hunters, Kermit and Miss Piggy, will fly. They fly all through the storm, doing all these zigzags, trying to, and they drop many, many dropsons each time they fly out, trying to sample where the strongest winds are, and get an idea of, you know, the winds, the pressure, how intense the storm is. So here's comparing kind of the area of a storm that Gonzo, the little airplane we talked about earlier, would fly, compared to where Miss Piggy and Kermit would fly. So on the left side of your screen, this is for Hurricane, I think it was Matthew back in 2016. And so Gonzo, that smaller airplane, is gonna fly all in that green shaded area around the hurricane environment. Whereas on the right side of your screen, that's where the NOAA hurricane hunters are going to fly. Kermit and Miss Piggy, they actually fly into the storm, and they're sending out those dropsons, trying to get all kinds of information, meteorological information. And what happens with that meteorological information over on the left side of your screen, we have all kinds of information. We have satellite data, we have data from the NOAA P3, we have data coming in from Gonzo, and then we have radar data. All this information is packaged up and it's sent to talented meteorologists at the National Hurricane Center. And there's my friend Dan right there. He's one of the meteorologists at the National Hurricane Center. And so the National Hurricane Center meteorologists take all this information, all this meteorological data, and they look at these forecast models where all this data is going into to help prepare these official forecasts to let us know as citizens where the storm's heading, how intense it might be. And that triggers us at the Weather Service to do briefings, to let our emergency management communities know, to let our media partners know, hey, do we really need to get our communities ready for this particular storm? And if so, what are the threats that this hurricane could bring? Could it bring high winds, heavy rain, storm surge? So it's really a big team effort across the National Weather Service. And a lot of it starts with the data collection going into the storm itself that the hurricane hunters help provide us. So, you know, basically we get good data that comes in from the hurricane hunter aircraft, and it goes to the National Hurricane Center meteorologists that help prepare a good forecast. That trickles down to where I work at the local National Weather Service office, so we can help prepare really detailed forecasts, refined forecasts to send out to our communities to help you guys and your families prepare and stay safe. And if the big storm's coming, maybe you might need to evacuate. So our goal is to get all this scientific information together to help save lives. So with that, I'll turn it back to Miss Taylor to see if there's any questions.
Awesome, thank you. And we do have a couple of questions for you.
Okay, excellent.
What do you like most about your work?
My favorite job about my work, my favorite part about my job is that it means something to people. I always wanted to be do something that was important to the community, and so I really like that. I like that I'm behind the scenes. I'm not an on-camera meteorologist, so I'm one of the scientists, but the information that we do when we put together is very meaningful, right? Because if, you know, we put together a forecast that says, oh, hey, this storm is coming towards your location, it's really important that you know that so you and your families can be safe. So I really like trying to help, the servant part of my job, trying to be a public servant.
Absolutely, and thank you for what you do. It's amazing. And what made you want to join this industry?
Well, my dad was actually a hurricane hunter pilot for the military. So you guys saw the video in the beginning that followed the hurricane hunters for the military around. Well, that's what my dad did for several years back in the 70s, a long time ago. And I always loved science, and I wanted to not be on TV as a meteorologist. I wanted to either do the military, or I learned about the National Weather Service, which is another behind the scenes way to help serve.
Awesome. Okay, and last question we have here is, what was your educational path to be where you are today?
Well, I am local to Florida, and I went to Florida State University to get a degree in meteorology. And that's what you need to be a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. You need a degree in meteorology or hydrology. And it was a 4-year degree for me. And I really enjoy the hard sciences. So to get a degree in meteorology, you have to be good at math and physics and also computer science now that we do everything on the computer, but also computer science. So, you know, if you're once you get a little bit higher up in your education, if you like a type of science called physics, which is basically a science that takes math equations to help explain how things happen in the world, in my case, happen in the atmosphere, like the models that I talked about earlier, the hurricane models. All of those forecast models are basically math equations that use the numbers, that use the data from the Hurricane Center and from the NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft, like the temperature data, the wind data, and these math equations come out with different forecast model scenarios on where the storm could go. So there's a lot of hard science in the background for a degree in meteorology. But if you like it or you're interested in it, I say go for it. I struggled with some of the math trying to get a degree in meteorology and calculus, but I went to my tutoring sessions and I got a hold of it because I knew this is what I really wanted to do. So if you think you can, you can. And if you want it bad enough, you'll go for it and you'll make it happen.
Awesome. Absolutely. That was great advice. Thank you to everybody that joined today for the amazing session, and thank you to everyone that asked questions. The recording will be available soon on our website at flstemconnect.com. Thank you all. We will see you next time. I'll close out the webinar for everyone. Thank you, Angela.